All right, I'm going to start. These are a list of some average people in the Bible. There's more than these, but these are some of the big ones. The first one is in fact, this is the biggest one right here. Would be Lot. Now, some of you may know the story of Lot. The story of him where he come with Abraham, and eventually went to the plain of Jordan, and eventually pitched his tent towards Sodom. Went to Sodom, and there was vexed with the conversation and acts of the wickeds that were there, the perverts, the Sodomites, which are, by the way, still a bunch of perverts, and are going to hellfire when they die. But he eventually went there, was vexed, his family, and then when God rained judgment on them, he lost his children. Well, let me just get into it. I'm going to read the verses. Genesis 13:11 through 13. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. Verse 12. Abram dwelled in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. Genesis 19:4 through 8. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, and both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, that is a sick bunch of perverts right there. Some of you read the verse and say, well, that don't sound that bad. They want to know them. They just want to, they're not talking about sitting and having a conversation with them when they say that. And y'all ever read the Bible where it said, when it talks about a husband knowing his wife, if you read about Adam, it says that Adam knew his wife and she conceived. That know there is talking about sexuals. That's talking about sex. These men, and it says old and young, compassed Lot's house and said, bring these men out that we may have sex with them and commit sodomy with them. And the men were angels. They were angels. These people were perverts, sick perverts. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after them, and said, I pray you, brethren. Let's see how messed up he was. Brethren. He called them brothers. Do not so wickedly. Behold now. You see how messed up he is? Read this. I have 2 daughters, which have not known men. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing. For therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. You talk about messed up. He was going to offer his 2 daughters to these men and let them have sex and pervert and do perverted things with them. Hey, here, take them and do what you want to with them. But just don't hurt these men. Now, let's skip some verses. Go to Genesis 19, 13 through 14. Those verses before were Genesis 19:4 through 8, when it talks about the Sodomites and them compassing his house and everything. But I'm going to go skip a few verses and go to Genesis 19:13 through 14. For we will destroy this place. This is the angels talking. Because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-laws, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get ye out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. It was kind of like a joke to them when he said this. They're kind of like, Lot, the Lord's going to destroy the city? Oh, good one, Lot. That's funny. It was kind of like a joke. You know, they didn't take him seriously. Genesis 19:24-26. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Boy, you talk about rough. Listen to this. Can you believe this? Genesis 19:30-38. This is the last of it right here. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, or when she rose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot, but with child by their father. Man, it's just so sick. What are you talking about messed up? And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab, the same as the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Benammi, the same as the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. Can you believe that? You read all that and say, what does that have to do with unjust gain and covetousness and gambling and everything? Well, this all started, the reason all this happened was because of his greed. If you read about, listen to this, when he said he chose all the plain of Jordan, he wanted the entire plain of Jordan. He said, he saw it and said, I want it all. And listen to this, dwelt in the land, and Lot dwelled in the cities. How many dwell in cities? It seems like Lot was moving around from place to place to try to gain more wealth. He was doing this, and he was going to Sodom to try to make more, to gain more gain, to get more, because he was so greedy. And he was unstable, and he couldn't, and he just wanted more and more and more and more, and he just could not be satisfied by it. He couldn't. Because he was rich. He was a rich man. He was not a poor man. He wanted more. He wanted all the plain of Jordan. He wasn't in the cities. He wouldn't stay in one place because he kept trying to make more and more, gain more and more cattle. The reason he broke away from Abraham, or Abram at the time, was because he couldn't get along with because his shearers and his men were not getting along with Abraham's, and they broke off. And he said, "I'll take one way, you take the other." And he took all the plain of Jordan because it was well watered. So, because of his greed and him being an average person and full of greed and couldn't be satisfied and just wanted to gain more and more wealth, and that's all he could think about, he decided that it would be best to go to Sodom, to the pervert city, where angels come in and they tell them that, hey, we're going to destroy this place. The perverts come around and say, hey, we want to have sex with these angels that have come in there. Send them out here so we can have sex with them. And these are old and young men doing this. You talk about they were perverts. And then he was so messed up that he calls them brethren and says, don't do it. And so I say, well, that's all right. Well, why do you call them brethren? They're not brethren, they're perverts. I wouldn't call a sodomite a pervert. I wouldn't call a sodomite a brethren, a brother. And then he says, he's over time he has gotten so messed up. You see how messed up he was by this time. He'd gotten so vexed by these perverts and so messed up in the mind, and so so messed up in his mind, so vexed, that he was saying that he was offering to send his two daughters out there and say, let y'all do what you want to with my daughters, but don't do nothing with this. I wouldn't send my daughters out to do a bunch of sodomites. He was going to offer his daughters for them to have sex with his daughters, and who knows what kind of sexual perverted acts they were going to do. And then he loses his three son-in-laws when he says, hey, the Lord's going to destroy this place. And they lived there probably so who knows how long, and they got so used to it that they said, I mean, God's going to destroy this place. I mean, we've lived here so long, and now all of a sudden God's going to destroy this place. And they mocked it and said, that's a joke. We can believe it. They died in the destruction of it. I'll continue this in the next part.